official. I have no willpower. Hello, Domino's? Hello, Domino's. Glad you called. First of all, a lot of what we see as questionable choices when it comes to ADHD have nothing to do with willpower. I'll explain. We might expend a ton of willpower trying to get ourselves to choose and continue to choose to focus on an assignment with abysmal results, while we might accomplish an epic goal without relying on much willpower at all because our brains just happen to find it engaging.
Accurate.
This has to do with the way ADHD brains are wired. Our outcomes often have very little to do with how hard we're trying or how much willpower we are or aren't exerting.
Domino's?
Second, it's not that we don't have willpower.
But I do have no willpower.
No, your willpower is depleted. There's a difference. Self-regulation, which is a term often used interchangeably with terms like self-control or, more colloquially, willpower, is the ability to alter one's responses based on rules, goals, ideals, norms, plans, and other standards. In other words, to make good choices. And it's a notoriously depletable resource. In fact, according to the ego depletion theory, all things we actively choose to do, or stop ourselves from doing, draw from a limited resource of energy. Your willpower. Because it is a limited resource, once it has been used, further acts of willpower have a greater likelihood of willpower failure. Any additional acts of self-control will be more difficult, and failure more likely, until that resource is replenished, usually through restful things like sleep. Kind of like how it's harder to work out when you've already used those muscles and not let them recover. But this is the first time that I've used my willpower today. You sure about that? How many times did you try to make good choices today, or adjust your behavior to fit societal norms? Oh, some choices deplete willpower more than others, but even easy or enjoyable choices deplete our willpower if there are enough of them. And when it's depleted, there are a lot of negative consequences. Impulse purchases, impaired self-regulation, decision fatigue, decision avoidance, decision-making biases. Several studies indicate that decision fatigue, when someone has trouble making decisions after making too many decisions in a row, can increase reliance on mental shortcuts and biases. One study showed that the percentage of favorable rulings by judges on parole boards in a prison dropped gradually from around 65% to almost 0% within each decision session, but they went back up to around 65% after a break. This suggests the higher the decision fatigue, the higher the reliance on biased assumptions. Another study found that the greater decision fatigue editors experienced, whether alone or working in collaboration, the greater their bias toward rejecting manuscripts. Decision fatigue also makes consumers more prone to quick, biased choices. So if my willpower is depleted, even if I think I'm making a good decision, that decision is probably biased. Well, this explains some things. And again, if we've used up our willpower, now we don't have that willpower available for the next choice we have to make. Hence, playing video games when I'm supposed to be working? Whoa. While she's contemplating her relationship with her impulse purchases, let's talk about an app that can help you with your relationship with your significant other, the Paired app. I love having those really deep, intimate conversations with my partner, or those get-to-know-you conversations that are pretty natural to happen at the beginning of a relationship, but often don't come up organically later in a relationship. The Paired app is amazing because it asks you questions that you might not have thought to ask. It's completely asynchronous. You can do it when it works for you. Your partner can do it when it works for them. And you don't get to see their answer until you do yours, which is really fun. There are conversation starters, quizzes, games. There's a journey that we're taking right now as a couple called Reconnection for Parents. We're able to have these deep, meaningful conversations, and we're able to learn things about each other even years into our relationship. Even after having a baby, we're able to stay connected. We're able to maintain our relationship. But I've also learned things about myself. There was a question today, how much do you think couple vacations should cost? And I realized it's not something I'd ever really thought about before. Interesting question, right? Depends on the vacation. I don't have like a specific number in mind, but more like just a general guideline of an amount we won't regret spending. Like that is how much couple of vacations should cost, but I'm really curious to see his answer. My partner's actually on a 30-day streak. So even though we don't have a lot of time to spend together right now, I love that this shows me that he's thinking about me and he's prioritizing our relationship and he doesn't miss a day, which is really sweet. If you'd like to try the Paired app, click my link in the description below for a 7-day free trial plus 25% off Paired Premium so you can maintain and deepen your connection with your partner. So what's a brain to do? Do I just accept my fate of making terrible decisions by noon because I've burned through all my willpower? Also, can I order my pizza now? Whenever possible, make it so you don't have to rely on willpower. How and can this come with cheesy bread? A few ways. Make choices for yourself ahead of time. If you've already picked out what you're going to wear and have for breakfast the night before, ideally after you've rested a bit and are capable of making good choices, you don't have to decide the morning of. This is a great way to save your willpower for choices you can't make ahead of time, or for a day when you know you're really going to need it. If a lot of the choices you're making are what to do and in what order, may I suggest a checklist? Reduce friction and grease the wheels. If there's a choice you know you want to make, for instance, getting to work or school early or going to the gym afterward, do what you can to remove as many obstacles as possible and make the choice as attractive as possible. If you want to eat more fruit, for example, put a basket of fruit on the counter. Or buy pre-cut fruit. The easier it is to make the choices you want to make, the less you'll need to rely on willpower to make them. Along those lines, tip the scales. If you regularly make the choice you don't want to make over the choice you'd like to make, change up the equation. Maybe staying in bed sounds better than getting out of bed and going for a hike by yourself, which means you need a ton of willpower to get yourself to do it. But getting out of bed and going for a hike with a friend, then going to brunch afterward, naturally wins out over staying in bed. No willpower required. Cut back on the number of decisions you need to make. Many leaders famously choose to wear the same thing every day, so they're not burning willpower on choices that don't matter to them, which means they'll have more available for choices that do. I'm not a world leader, but I am a mom, so I bought a bunch of white onesies and white socks. These go with everything. All of the pants. They go with all of the pants. And I just wear the same thing every day. Because I have to. But still, this also reduces the mental load. More about that in this video. Automate your choices. You can do this by having clear guidelines about what choice you'll make when, such as, unless I am sick, I go to yoga on Fridays at 10. You can install smart switches that automatically turn off your screens at a certain time so you don't have to make an intentional choice to do so in the moment. You can also automate your choices by practicing making the same one enough that it becomes a habit. You probably didn't need any willpower to call Domino's once you started playing video games because you've done it enough that it's become a habit. Also, pizza is delicious, obviously. But why did you choose Domino's? Did you decide it was the best option or the one most in alignment with your current financial goals? Oh, habit. I guess I also greased the wheels by putting Domino's on speed dial. Right. This works both ways. We might unknowingly have applied a lot of these strategies to help us make the choice we don't want to make. Which brings me to one of the most powerful ways to reduce our reliance on willpower, one we can employ when all else fails. Remove the option you don't want to choose. You don't need willpower to avoid using an app if you delete that app. And I don't need willpower to avoid ordering a pizza if this isn't actually Domino's. Oh, it is. I just like to know people are ordering pizza because they want to, not because they've run out of willpower. Oh, enjoy your pizza. How have you not gotten fired yet? Oh, I definitely have. But you keep coming back? Habit. Thank you to our brain advocates and all our Patreon brains for supporting the work we do. As you can see, we're getting a little more creative with it and having a lot of fun with it. Let us know in the comments below what you do to avoid having to rely on your willpower. Like, subscribe, click all the things, and we will see you next video. Bye, brains.